electioneering committees. But now, here comes the antidote to this corruption of our politics by fat cats. Instead of being financed by 400 special interests, Bernie Sanders' campaign has raised its $15 million from 400,000 ordinary Americans. In fact, the average donation to Bernie is a heartwarming, soul-saving $31.30. This is Jim Hightower saying, you can't buy a president for $30, but you can help elect one who is not owned by big money. And isn't that the way it ought to be?
Freeway Auto Center is your road to home. Now open and ready to send you home in a much better car than you're driving now. Freeway Auto Center has a special phone number for KCAA listeners. Get ready, get a pen. Here's the number you need. Right now, in the 909 area code, call 269-8731. Got it? 269-8731. That's the number you need for Freeway Auto Center. Just call 909-269-8731 and ask for the road to home. You may need to unload a car that costs more to fix than you paid for it. Maybe you need a dependable car for your kids to go to college. Maybe it's just time. Freeway Auto Center on Waterman, north of the 10, has the selection you're looking for. Freeway Auto Center will get you there. Call 909-269-8731. That's 269-8731. That's your number for Freeway Auto Center.
Are you looking for the right place to purchase your landscaping items? Well, come see us at Hydroscape. Hydroscape offers a large selection of irrigation products including Irritrol and Toro, such as their efficient precision nozzles. For 40 years, Hydroscape has been family owned and operated, serving Southern California. With 17 locations, our knowledgeable and experienced staff is equipped to help you with all your irrigation, landscape, and outdoor living projects. Whether you're installing irrigation systems, wanting to maintain a healthy landscape, or simply create a beautiful lit space for outdoor entertaining, Hydroscape is the place to go. Visit our website at hydroscape.com for more information and find helpful articles on our blog, or call our customer service center at 1-800-395-4477.
Hi, this is Steve Sanchez, and you hear me every weekend on my show talk about the importance of a financial plan, planning for your retirement, planning for your children's college education fund. Unfortunately, most people don't realize that they need to set up a foundation before any good financial plan can come into place. That's where life insurance comes in. Now, most people think life insurance is just an expense, but it's not. It can be a way of life, a standard of living when someone, the breadwinner, is literally removed out of the picture because of a premature death. Look, I believe in it. I've got life insurance for my family, and I want you to find out how easy it is to get life insurance and even qualify through some new non-medical life insurance policies. Look, my friends at eFinancial can help you do this. They're standing by to give you your free life insurance quote today. Call 866-807-9961. 807-9961 for your free life insurance quote today. And don't forget to tell them Steve sent you.
What have I learned so far? I've learned that there is no one path right for everyone. I've learned that without my high school diploma, I can only do so much. My options were limited. I found a free personalized learning program with Learn for Life that has a flexible schedule so I could keep my job while earning my high school diploma. I found new career training opportunities that would jumpstart my future. What have I learned so far? I've learned that I can change my life.
Are you 14 to 19 years old and looking for a free high school diploma program with flexible meeting times? This program allows you to keep your job or important family responsibilities while earning your high school diploma. If you've fallen behind on credits or dropped out of school completely, get back on track with free tutoring, a caring faculty, and one-on-one attention. For more information on how to reach your graduation goal, visit learnforlife.org. That's LEARN4LIFE.org. Or enroll today by calling 877-360-LEARN. That's 877-360-LEARN.
KCAA. Welcome to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. Rick is a safe money specialist, primarily serving Southern California, but he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Lewag is a licensed insurance professional in the state of California and specializes in working with business owners, people who are near retirement, or those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies. And Now, here to talk to you about safe money and retirement, your host, Rick Lewag.
Hello again and welcome. Welcome to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. I'm your host, Rick Lewag, and it's another Tuesday evening. I tried to get a bunch of guests on for this evening. However, it was a little difficult because everybody wants to watch the Democratic debates. And for those of you that are driving, let me tell you what you're not going to hear on those debates. You're not going to hear the Democratic presidential contenders talk about Obamacare. And they're not going to talk about it because in this show, what we do is we talk about what the greatest threats are to your retirement savings and your business. This is where you're going to get the straight talk that you're not going to hear from your CPA, your attorney, your certified financial planner, especially not from your group health insurance agent or your insurance agent. And one of the things that the Democratic debates are not going to talk about is the threat that Obamacare imposes on your retirement savings, your income, and your business. And they're not going to talk about it because they know that it's a gigantic threat. Let me tell you a little bit about how this new bill that was just enacted in 2010 actually took full effect on January 1st, 2014. Let me tell you some of the things in this first segment of the show about how this bill actually impacts your retirement savings and your business. First of all, Obamacare impacts every single American in the United States. It impacts every single one of us differently. However, it impacts seniors different, it impacts business owners differently, but it does impact all of us uniformly in two ways. First of all, it is already starting to decrease many of all of ours access to health care. And the way it's doing that is by the shrinking networks, the provider networks from the health insurance companies and from Medicare. For those of you that have already purchased your Obamacare plans for last year, and you're going to be looking at it, open enrollment actually starts November 1st for Obamacare plans and October 15th, this coming week, for Medicare. One of the things that you're going to notice is that the networks are not as large as they were back in 2012 and 2013. One of the things that this new law did, the Affordable Care Act, its goal is to actually decrease the usage of health care by limiting the amount of doctors and hospitals that we have access to. It sounds rather egregious, and it was done deliberately because for those of us that have studied and understand the bill itself, the framers of the new law believed that the out-of-control cost for health care is not because of health insurance cost, or it's not because hospitals are charging too much. The framers of Obamacare believed that the reason for the out-of-control cost was a greedy, for-profit healthcare industry, primarily the Medicare industry. The framers of the Affordable Care Act believed when they wrote the bill is that if they could decrease the amount that seniors on Medicare used Medicare, they could save billions and billions of dollars. And for those of us that have had experience in the health insurance industry, we could tell you that the system was definitely broken. There's no doubt about that. It was riddled with fraud. Premiums were skyrocketing, and the healthcare industry as a whole was broken. But it didn't need to be fixed in this way. One of the things that most seniors are going to find is that their benefits are pretty much the same. Wherever I go, seniors ask me all the time, Rick, we understand this bill is bad for us for the most part, but we don't really know where. We don't really know how. It hasn't really impacted us yet. In fact, the sense that I get whenever I travel and speak to groups like the Rotary Clubs or Kiwanis, or I speak on a radio show, the sense that I get is that most Americans believe that the worst part of the bill, the biggest negative impact of it, is in our rearview mirror behind us because they haven't really felt it. Yesterday, I was lucky enough to talk to a gentleman that his job is to go into hospitals as an interim CEO. He spoke to a Rotary Club recently, and I was called, and they told me, this guy, you got to get him on your radio show. And I talked to him a long time yesterday about the new bill and what he thought about Obamacare. And one of the comments that I made to him was, I said, Hal, everything that I see, everything that I've studied and see transpiring with this bill for seniors is that I believe that within 5 years, having Medicare is going to be no different than having Medicaid around the country or Medi-Cal in California. And he said, Rick, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. In fact, in many cases, the reimbursements for Medi-Cal to hospitals and doctors is greater than the Medicare reimbursements or some of these new Obamacare plans. So what you're going to find out, especially this open enrollment, if you're a senior and you're looking at Medicare plans, the most important thing for you to look at is whether your doctors or hospitals are on the network that you want to use. And that to me is the greatest threat to seniors' retirement savings as a result of Obamacare, and that's limited access to doctors and hospitals. And let me give you a scenario. If you were diagnosed, you or your beloved spouse were diagnosed with a life-threatening terminal illness. In 2013, the chances were really, really good that you were not going to have a catastrophic medical expense. If you had Medicare and a Medicare supplement, you could pretty much go see any doctor and hospital that you wanted to, anywhere in the country. Everybody accepted Medicare. And Medicare, the 20% that Medicare didn't pick up, a Medicare supplement would pick it up, and you would not have a catastrophic medical expense. If you had a Medicare Advantage plan, the chances of you having a catastrophic medical expense were slim to none. So prior to 2014, I could tell seniors, listen, just get to age 65. That's all you got to do. Just get to age 65, because then you can get Medicare and a Medicare supplement, and the chances of you having a catastrophic medical expense are slim to none. Well, that changed in 2014. I couldn't say that anymore, and here's why. Because if you were on Medicare and you were to get a terminal, life-threatening illness, and the doctor and hospital that you needed to go see and treat you wasn't accepting Medicare or wasn't part of your Medicare Advantage network, and you still wanted to use that doctor, you would have to pay out of pocket. Therefore, you could literally have a catastrophic medical expense that wipes out your entire retirement savings. Because if you're diagnosed with a life-threatening illness and the doctor and hospital that you need to go see doesn't accept Medicare anymore, or they're not accepting your Medicare Advantage plan because they're not on your network, you're not going to die by not spending your retirement savings down. You're going to make every effort physically and financially to save your life or your loved one's life. So prior to 2014, the statistics showed us that about 60% of all bankruptcies in the United States, 60%, were caused by a catastrophic medical expense. And the sad part about that is most of those people that had to declare bankruptcy due to a catastrophic medical expense, they had health insurance. And most of you had heard the stories. Some woman is diagnosed with breast cancer. She starts treatment, starts chemotherapy and radiation, but God forbid she has to leave her job. So she leaves her job to recover and be treated. She goes on COBRA. She can't afford COBRA anymore. The family can't afford COBRA, so she can't afford her drugs, her treatment, and invariably she passes away. Well, that not only did they lose their loved one, but it probably caused a bankruptcy at the same time. Very rarely did that ever happen to seniors on Medicare. However, as a result of the new law, I believe we're going to start seeing a lot more of those because of these shrinking Medicare networks. Not only is that the greatest threat to your retirement savings if you're a senior, there's all kinds of new taxes that are thrown into this bill that you probably have already started to see when you went to see your tax advisor or your CPA back last April. And you're going to continue to see that as it moves on. So if you're a business owner and a senior, you're getting hit twice. You're getting hit twice by this new law. I believe that the greatest threat to your business is not competition. Sometimes it's regulation, taxes, a declining economy. One of the greatest threats to your business is the new Affordable Care Act. And the reason is because now it imposes such huge costs to provide health insurance to business owners. We talk a lot about this in my new book. I wrote a book the beginning of this year, and I titled it, You're Going to Need a Bigger Boat, How Obamacare Threatens Americans' Retirement Savings. And I came to that idea of the title is, for those of you that have ever seen Jaws, the movie Jaws, I remember when Quint was driving the Orca, he was piloting the Orca, and Chief Brody was throwing the chum into the ocean. And it's an iconic scene. It's a great scene in the movie if you've seen the movie Jaws. And all of a sudden he's throwing this chum into the ocean to lure the shark, and it's the first we see of the big gigantic shark. And Brody's look, and as he backs into the captain's, into the bridge, so to speak, he turns to Captain Quint and says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." Once I learned how this bill impacts my clients, which are seniors and business owners, I started sending out the message, you're going to need a bigger boat, and you are. And because of this new law, a lot of questions are popping up. Rick, what do I do to keep my money safe? What do I do to mitigate the negative impact of this new law on my access to health care? What happens if I get a catastrophic medical expense and my doctors and hospitals aren't part of my network? Rick, what do I do? Do I have to provide health insurance? What if I can't afford it? What if I go bankrupt and I lose my business because of this? So there's a lot of stress and consternation out there about this bill. So for you listeners, I want to tell you this, is the negative impact of this law is not in the rear view mirror. It's in front of us. It's yet to come. And according to Hal, the interim CEO, he said, Rick, the worst part of this bill is going to hit everybody within the next 2 years. So we're going to have Hal on in the next couple of weeks as a guest to the show. And, I just got a question from my right-hand man here, engineer. What about overseas? Going overseas? Not quite sure what you mean, but at the break you can tell me and I'll address it. My buddy here, Joe, is a happy guy tonight. I got him an In-N-Out double and a chocolate milkshake before we got here, so he's making sure I get taken care of tonight. But back to our favorite new law, the Affordable Care Act. Remember, the name of this show is Safe Money Talk. We're not here to talk about politics. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you're a communist, if you're a socialist. I don't care if you have any political wherever you stand on the political aisle, it doesn't matter. The reason why I talk about this bill is because it is a threat to our money, to our business, and our retirement savings. Just to give you an idea how it impacted me. In 2013, I pay for health insurance for me and my two daughters. My wife, Stephanie's a school teacher, so she gets hers covered by Corona Norco Unified School District. It was going to cost us about $2,000 per month to add on the children and myself. So we went and got our own private plan in 2013. We had a great Health Net PPO that cost us, I think it was $359 a month. It was a great Health Net PPO. The first year of the Affordable Care Act, to get the Silver Plan, which was the same network so we could see our same doctors, was $650 a month. And this year, the exact same plan that we paid almost $359 for 2 years before, our premiums for the Silver Plan for 2015 are $850 a month. So much for the Affordable Care Act. And I know there's plenty of stories out there. And again, we're not trying to be political. I don't care, Republican or Democrat. Everybody out there just needs to know how this bill is going to impact them. In the next segment, we're going to talk about products that you can actually get to protect yourself from the bill and the other greatest threat to your retirement savings. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This is Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag, KCAA 1050 AM. Thanks for joining us. See you after the break.
Never before has there been a piece of legislation that impacts so many Americans in so many ways as the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. This ponderous bill is now the law of the land, yet many of us do not yet fully understand how it impacts our health care, our finances, even our retirement. It's hard to get past all the political rhetoric and grandstanding politicians and learn the truth about Obamacare. That's why Rick Lewag wants to offer you his free Obamacare Survival Kit. This kit contains information you need right now to protect your business and retirement from the effects of Obamacare. There are no strings attached, and you have everything to gain and nothing to lose by calling Rick's toll-free number right now and reserving your copy. That's 1-800-284-3887. Your survival kit is waiting for you now at 1-800-284-3887. That's 1-800-284-3887.
If you're a senior on Medicare or are about to enroll in Medicare, you need to pay close attention to this. Many seniors are making mistakes with their money from which they will never recover, simply because they don't understand how Obamacare will affect them in retirement. For a limited time, we're offering a free Obamacare Survival Kit containing information you must know in order to protect your retirement. Call toll-free right now to reserve your copy. 1-800-284-3895. Again, that's 800-284-3895.
We found the problem with your car.
And
Turns out the carburetor differential modulator is out.
what?
And while we were digging around in there, this thing fell off.
Stop. There's no automotive repair nightmares at Diego Martinez's 5-Star Automotive in San Bernardino. 5-Star Automotive, where you'll get a great experience, and home of the $15.99 oil change. That's right, just $15.99. They specialize in transmissions, brake repair, AC, and many other repairs, all with a lifetime warranty on parts and labor. Diego knows when your auto needs 5-star attention, it's never convenient. He offers a 12-month interest-free auto repair loan on major auto repairs with no money down. He'll even throw in free towing and a 10% discount for his neighbors in the 909 who work for the city and county of San Bernardino. Call 909-387-0770. That's 387-0770. Your neighbors at 909 West 2nd Street in San Bernardino.
KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM proudly announces our Inland Empire Ad Club's nomination of KCAA as Station of the Year for 2015. KCAA serving the greater San Bernardino Riverside area.
Welcome back to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. In the last segment, we talked briefly about what I consider to be the greatest threat of all to seniors' retirement savings, middle-income America's incomes, and business owners. One thing I didn't talk about in the opening of a show is I don't want to just sit here and talk at you. If you've got any Obamacare stories or anything you want to talk about, call into the show and just ask me any questions about this. If it's a local call, call me at 909-888-5222. And if it's outside of the 909 area code, go ahead and give me a call at 888-909-1050. Ask me any questions you want about this. It's a broad subject, believe me. We could go on and on and on about the Affordable Care Act. That's why I've written the books, done the Obamacare survival kits, and actually done the Obamacare boot camps. But you cannot talk about retirement planning, business planning. You can't talk about that anymore without talking about the Affordable Care Act. You just can't. And for most of you that are doing retirement planning or talking about your business planning, and if your CPA is not talking to you about the impact of the Affordable Care Act and the threats that it poses, you need to get with me or you need to get with somebody that understands it and can fill you in. The other thing we want to talk about on tonight's show is I see so many seniors. I've been doing this for a long time. In 1988, I was one of the first 100 people in the United States that had a Series 7 securities license to sell stocks and bonds and an insurance license that was recruited to actually work inside of a bank. Now, in 2015, you walk in any bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and you walk up to a desk and there's a sign overhead that says investments. But in 1988, that was very novel. It was very novel to have somebody inside of a retail bank that could actually sell stocks and bonds and insurance products. So I've been around this industry for a long time, actually have lived through and seen and experienced 4 of the major crashes that we've experienced. And I'm still amazed after 1987, after 2002, after 2008 especially, I'm still amazed at how many seniors and people have a lion's share of their retirement savings in a mutual fund or in the stock market where they can lose it. And it's interesting how people just don't learn their lesson. And I've wondered for years and years why that is. I was like a doctor that finds out that they don't like the sight of blood. My very first crash was as a stockbroker was 1987, and that was October 19th of 1987. For those of you old enough, you remember Black Monday. That's the one day when the Dow Jones dropped 27% in one day. 27%. My phone was ringing off the hook sitting in the bank, and I learned my clients forgot how much money they had made the previous 2 or 3 years in the bull market, and they just wanted to tear me open about how much they had lost in that one day. So like a doctor that basically learns that they don't like going in and telling the loved ones that their beloved son or daughter or family member is terminally ill or died, I realized very early I didn't have the stomach for losses. So that's when I changed my practice, and I went primarily into very safe, boring, conservative, protected type products. And that's what we've been doing for years now. We provide advice to seniors and business owners on the products that they can get that are safe. And I'm asked all the time, what should I do? The biggest thing that I see out there today is confusion. That's the number one thing that I see from everybody is confusion. And in today's world with the internet, there's so much information at everybody's fingertips. We can learn about anything at any time. The access to information has never been greater than it is now. But because of that, there's never been more confusion. I'm on top of this. I get newsletters. I'm studying it. I'm keeping apprised of what's going on. And I'm watching even folks that I know and respect, top-notch economists, are saying the complete opposite of each other. One person says that the dollar is the place to be. It's going to be strong forever. The next guy, who's just as famous as him, just as smart as that guy, says, oh my God, the dollar's going to crash. Somebody says, oh, the stock market's a great place to be because our economy's doing so great. Another guy says, oh my God, the stock market's going to crash. So for those of you that aren't professionals, I can imagine how frustrating it is because you turn on the radio, you turn on the TV, and you're hearing contrary ideas. You should do this. No, you should do this. You should do this. Oh, no. So you're confused, which causes people to be afraid, and it causes them to do nothing. And that's scary when you absolutely do nothing. So what I want to talk about in the next couple minutes is a couple things that you should think about. A couple of products that you should think about infusing into your financial portfolio that I consider to be super safe and avoid any kind of catastrophe due to a market meltdown, okay? And some of them, you've heard of them. There's 3 products that I use. I pull these arrows out of my quiver whenever I'm talking to clients or whenever I'm talking to groups. I'll say there's 3 basic products that you should look at and to consider to protect your money in any kind of market, regardless what we're going to have happen, and as a result of the Affordable Care Act. And here's what I want you to remember. Being prepared, predicting the future predicting the future. If you're a financial pundit on the radio or on TV, remember this about these folks, is predicting the future is not about being right. Predicting the future is about being prepared. Whether there is a market meltdown that the stock market gets wiped out, whether there's a asset bubble burst and real estate crashes, whether the pundits are right or wrong and it doesn't happen, predicting the future is about you being prepared either way to protect your money. And there are 3 products that I could recommend to seniors that can protect their dough. And one of them, most people have never heard of. We've got a guest that's been sitting on the line now. I've asked Jesse to come on, and he's one of the most well-known experts in this particular field on this particular product. And I've just learned about these products over the last couple of years. And one of them, and I'm going to talk about the other 2 in just a minute, the first one's called a life settlement. And let me tell you real briefly before we get Jesse on the phone to talk about these, what a life settlement actually is, okay? Let's just take somebody that needs to borrow $10 million to buy an apartment building. And the lender requires a $10 million life insurance policy to cover that loan. Well, that's a very expensive life insurance policy. The premiums are expensive. Oh, they're quite expensive depending on the age and the health of the insured. But they need to have that big life insurance policy because they have to cover the loan. Years later, that gentleman or lady decides they want to sell that piece of property. They sell the property. They no longer need that life insurance policy. That life insurance policy may have $200,000 or $300,000 in cash value. So if they cashed in the policy, they could take out the $200,000 or $300,000 and they wouldn't have to pay in the premiums anymore, and they could cancel the policy. However, in the early 1900s, sophisticated investors started going to these big life insurance policy holders and saying, listen, you don't need this policy anymore. I'll tell you what, I will buy it. I'll give you more than the insurance company will give you for the cash value, and I will continue to make the premium payments on it, and then when you die, I'll get the death benefit. Well, it sounds kind of morbid, but if you think about it, it's a really good deal for the person that's selling the life insurance policy, because now they're going to get more than the cash value that they were going to get from the insurance company in a lump sum. They get the premiums taken off their hands, and the investor now makes continual premium payments year after year, and when that person does pass away, that death benefit comes to that investor. There is absolutely zero market risk. None. Because what is the old saying? The 2 things you can guarantee are death and taxes. And again, it sounds rather morbid, but for those of us that have lived through these and experienced how they actually work, it's a win-win for everybody involved. It's not morbid at all. And I've got a gentleman on the phone that is considered an expert in this. So without me telling you more about it, I want to introduce and welcome to the show Jesse Milares. Jesse has been in the financial services industry for over 35 years. He's my go-to guy whenever I have questions on these life settlements. Jesse, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Jesse. Thanks. Sorry for putting you on hold for so long, but I had to have the listeners be a little bit teed up on what these life settlements are. Tell the listeners how you got involved with these, what your experience is, because you've been doing this a heck of a lot longer than I've been recommending them. I haven't even known about these things except for the last few years. Tell us who you are, how you got involved with this particular product, and what you see, whether they're safe, what makes them safe, where the risks are, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you mentioned, I've been in the business about 35 years, both in the retail side as an insurance and investment advisor, starting in the 80s. So, I really am dating myself. And then in raising capital for startup companies. So, what led me to this is that after I left the business of raising capital for companies, I was looking for what other alternatives out there that is unique and that typically the advisors out there are not aware of, and certainly the consuming public out there is not aware of. is, I'll give you sort of a viewpoint here that most people are not, I'm going to say again, aware of, is that most people are working with an advisor who recommends diversification. I mean, everybody talks about diversification.
Absolutely.
But they typically also diversify them primarily in the same asset classes, which is stocks, bonds, and they do that via direct stocks or mutual funds, ETFs, which are exchange-traded funds, and maybe some real estate, and they do that primarily through REITs, which are real estate investment trusts. So when I was looking out there and having the experience of being a financial advisor for over 20 years as a direct investment advisor, I looked for something unique, something that investors out there would find, I think, very useful, and at the same time, something that they've never even heard of, and at the same time, they could take advantage of today. And that's what life settlements are. And as you mentioned, it was passed back in 1911 that the Supreme Court ruled that life insurance is like any other asset you have, and you can certainly sell it. And that's exactly what this is.
Well, one of the big questions I get all the time is, well, what's the risk? What's the risk here?
Well, the risk primarily here is that if the person lives too long. So, for example, life insurance basically is what we always say is something that is guaranteed, meaning that the person lives to a certain age and then passes away, then the death benefits are paid. However, if you're paying the premiums, that certainly is the issue, is like how long the person lives. So when you buy life settlements, you certainly they decide a life expectancy for the policy, and then they determine that using third-party companies. And then so the only risk really is that if the person lives to a certain age, then you're paying more of those premiums.
Right. Now, in my research, two of the biggest life settlement investors are Warren Buffett and the Walmart Trust, the Walmart family. However, those guys usually buy big individual policies. Just recently, tell us a little bit about what are called fractional life settlements. That's a little bit different, right?
Well, it's the same concept.
Okay.
So what in essence what the big institutions such as Buffett does and the Walmart, in actuality, one of the biggest investors out there are pension funds, and they buy them because it's actually a hedge to their investment.
Right. Yeah.
So when they buy these things, they're just buying a pool of life settlement policies. They're just buying a larger amount. So what's out there available now for the shall we say Main Street as opposed to Wall Street is that they're able to buy into a smaller pool of these life settlement policies and able to afford it rather than buying what like Warren Buffett does. They'll be buying at $200 million worth of life settlement policy.
Right. Let's say Warren Buffett, he buys a $10 million policy on a 79-year-old that has a life expectancy of 4 years. Warren Buffett might have to pay $200,000 or $300,000 cash to the person to buy out the policy. Absolutely. And then he might have to come up with $200,000 a year in premiums.
Exactly.
And he can afford that. So when that person passes away, he gets the $10 million. The typical small investor like you and I, we can't pay $200,000 a year in premiums. So what this is kind of like broken up, almost like a mortgage, a pool of, I've seen them. We can invest in 4 or 5 of them, put in a small amount, and then we get a percentage of the death benefit. We don't get the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of fractional. That's the whole idea of fractional ownership in anything. So, just like in real estate, if you and me and 10 other folks decide to buy a vacation home, we own. If we all pay the same amount equally, we all own individually equal amounts of that real estate.
Absolutely. Okay, so
the same thing goes here with life settlements. Instead of paying for that $10 million policy yourself, you're buying it among several investors that can buy into it fractionally, and you own your proportionate share.
Now, these companies that buy the policies, from what I'm finding in my research, because of the volatility of the global markets, these are getting very, very popular, and you can imagine why. I mean, it just makes sense. You're sitting on a powder keg. You've got China. You've got the European Union. You got our debt. Everything's teetering. People are afraid. So these are getting more and more competitive. Is that true?
Well, yeah, it's not only becoming more competitive, it's becoming more popular as folks find out about it. I mean, certainly the institutional marketplace has been in this space for quite some time now because it is, like I said, a hedge to their investments because it's not volatile. The reality is the death benefit is guaranteed. So out there you'll find where that's an investment, then you know exactly where you're going to make because the death benefit is what's going to be there. One
of the only real downsides I've seen is that it's an illiquid investment. You can't get your money out until that policy, what they call matures, which means the insured passes away. So if you listeners are looking for something that you need to go in and out of, this is perfect for an IRA, a qualified plan, that's somebody that can put the money away and not need it or touch it for 7-10 years, Jesse, something like that?
Well, less than that, depending on really the portfolio. The policies out there range anywhere from 3 years to 5 years to 7 years. But I'll mention something to you. There's a Wharton study that was done in 2009. And the Wharton is arguably probably the business school in the country, other than Harvard would obviously argue with that, is that, they did a research that showed that life settlements is an asset class that more sophisticated investors should consider. And basically the whole study showed that life settlements today is really something that should become part of your portfolio in diversification because, you're not part of the stock market, you're not part of the real estate market. You are not dependent at all on anything that happens in the global economy. Basically, the life insurance company has an obligation to pay that debt.
Right, and the traditional rates of return have been pretty solid. So we've got to take a break now, Jesse. I want to thank you for coming on. You're a wealth of knowledge to me, and I know clients all over the country on these. And thanks again for joining us, okay? Take care.
Thank you.
Joe tells me we got to take a break now. Thanks for listening to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. We'll be right back.
Attention business owners, if you're concerned about the financial impact of Obamacare on your business, if higher health insurance rates will have a devastating impact on your bottom line, then you need to write down this number right now, 1-800-284-3895. We'll rush you a free copy of our popular Obamacare Survival Kit. This kit will help you discover ways you can lessen the impact of Obamacare on your business. Reserve your copy. Again, that's 1-800-284-3895.
Attention seniors on Medicare, pre-retirees, and business owners. If you're thinking that Obamacare won't affect you, think again. The more you learn about Obamacare, the more you will discover that everyone is affected by this legislation, seniors and business owners most of all. Take steps now to safeguard yourself, your family, your business, and your retirement income from the ravages of Obamacare. Call Rick Lewag's toll-free number, 1-800-284-3887, and Rick will rush you a complimentary copy of his popular Obamacare Survival Kit. This kit will help you discover ways you can lessen the impact of Obamacare on you, your loved ones, and your business. Obamacare is here, and it could very well threaten everything for which you have worked so hard. So, call 1-800-284-3887. Again, that's 1-800-284-3887 to get your Obamacare Survival Kit today. It's absolutely free.
Attention seniors on Medicare, if you think Obamacare won't affect you, think again. The more you learn about Obamacare, the more you'll discover that everyone is impacted, especially seniors on Medicare. You must take action now to safeguard your wealth from the unintended consequences of Obamacare. Call our toll-free number at 1-800-284-3895 and we'll rush you a free copy of our popular Obamacare Survival Kit. Call 1-800-284-3895 now and reserve your copy. Again, that's 1-800-284-3895. KCAA 1050 AM and 106.5 FM congratulates On the Brink with Aaron and Tobin Brinker on their 2015 Inland Empire Ad Club nomination for Radio Show of the Year.
Welcome back to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. I am your host. I am a safe money, retirement, and income specialist. I primarily work with clients here in the Southern California area. However, I've got clients, business clients and seniors all over the country. I've spoken to thousands of people on especially the Affordable Care Act, and I've written 2 books on that. We're going to continue on now. I've promised you that we talk about 2 other products that are awesome protections from any kind of market collapse, market meltdown. The first one I want to talk about real briefly is what I consider to be the number 1 protection product as a result of the Affordable Care Act. Everybody out there is familiar with life insurance. Everybody usually has life insurance for the most part. However, life insurance now has become even more critical as a result of the Affordable Care Act. And let me tell you why. There are new life insurance products that allow you to accelerate the death benefit. In other words, you don't have to die to get the death benefit. So let's just say, for example, you have a life insurance policy with $250,000 as a death benefit. Typically, if you purchased that life insurance policy years ago, you're going to have to die in order for your family to get that $250,000. That's why you bought life insurance, to protect your family. However, now there is a much more strategic reason to buy life insurance, especially if it has what are called living benefits or accelerated benefits. Now, these have been around for a while, but they haven't been as popular as they are now, or as they are going to be as a result of my favorite law, the Affordable Care Act. And here's why. We talked in the first segment is if you get a terminal or critical illness and the doctor and hospital that you want to go see isn't part of your Medicare Advantage network, or as a result of the huge reimbursement reductions, they decided they don't want to accept Medicare anymore, or if you're under 65 and the doctor and hospital that you need to go to cure whatever you have isn't part of your network, you're going to have to pay cash. You're going to have to pay out of pocket. Ergo, reverse mortgages, you're going to tap into your retirement savings, because at that point, saving your money is not as important as saving your life. So there's going to be new industries that are popping up as a result of this law, like medical tourism, where people are going to fly overseas and get their cataract surgery, or they're going to get their knee replacements or their hip replacements because they can't get it done in the States. Well, think about this. You're diagnosed, or your wife is diagnosed with a critical or terminal illness. The doctor or hospital that's recommended that she or you go to that can treat you so you can survive isn't part of your Obamacare network or your Medicare network. If you have a life insurance policy with living benefits attached to it, you can accelerate that death benefit. In other words, if there's a triggering point, it's a critical illness or a terminal illness or a chronic illness, chronic being cognitive impairment like Alzheimer's. So you're diagnosed, or your wife's diagnosed with Alzheimer's, cancer, has a critical event like a heart attack or stroke. Instead of paying cash out of your retirement savings or taking a reverse mortgage on your house, you can accelerate that death benefit. It's called a big pool of money. For those of you that understand life insurance, permanent life insurance has 2 pools of money. It has a big death benefit that you get when you die, and it has cash value that builds up like a savings account, okay? So you can always access that cash value, but it's typically a heck of a lot less than the big pool of money. That big pool of money is when you die. Well, think about this now. This is the beautiful thing about these products. Now you have access to the big pool of money. So if you've got a death benefit of $350,000 and you are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or you're diagnosed with cancer or terminal illness of some sort, you can now take that death benefit early once you're diagnosed and spend it on whatever you want to. Doesn't matter, whatever you want to. For those of you that have long-term care, this is a wonderful replacement to that. I'm not a big long-term care fan, but here's something to hear me now. I have an insurance license. I'm a financial advisor. I know that 1 out of 2 people in the United States are going to spend some time in a nursing home. That's the statistics, 50%. So either me or my wife Stephanie are going to spend some time in a nursing home. Well, I don't have long-term care insurance. The reason why is because I believe it's a use it or lose it proposition. I may never, ever use it. I may never use the amount that I put in. Plus, traditionally and historically, long-term care premiums go up every single year. So I don't know what I'm going to be paying in 10 or 20 years. Okay? So I could get wiped out because of this long-term care insurance. But if I've got this life insurance with living benefits and I'm diagnosed with Alzheimer's and I need to be put in a home, I don't have to worry about not ever running out of money. I can take my accelerated death benefit, and what if I die in 6 months? Let's say my death benefit is $300,000 and I take out $250,000, and the nursing home that I go to is $10,000 a month, and I die in 6 months. That's $60,000 that I've spent. Stephanie still gets the remainder of the $250,000 minus the $60,000. That still stays with her. If I had long-term care insurance, I would use up the $60,000 and gone, finito, finished. I may die in 2 months, 3 months. I may never go to a nursing home. So all those $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 in premiums that I paid to long-term care are gone, never used them. So this is a great replacement to that. The last product I want to talk about, and we're going to probably have to extend it into the next show because this is the most misunderstood product in the United States, financial product. It's got such a bad rap, undeservedly so. I think the reason is because so many people confuse it with its evil twin, which is the variable annuity, which you can lose money. The fixed annuity is probably one of the most critical components and financial instruments that you can have in your retirement savings. I talk about the pyramid of risk in every show. The pyramid of risk, like the food pyramid. At the very top of the pyramid of risk is gambling. Going to Vegas and gambling or betting on horse racing. In the middle of the risk pyramid, you would have mutual funds, real estate, what I would call investment products, collectibles, things that go up and down with the market. At the very bottom of the risk pyramid is CDs, government securities, all money market accounts, and hence fixed annuities. Fixed annuities. What is an annuity? And I have people call me or tell me all the time, I don't want one of those. I've heard those are bad. And advisors that tell people that annuities are bad for them is like saying a hammer is a bad tool to use to build a house. It's ridiculous. It's moronic. You need a lot of tools to build a house. A hammer is just one of them. A saw may not be very good if you want to slam a nail into a piece of wood, but a hammer sure is good. If you want your money to grow like crazy in an up market, then a mutual fund or a variable annuity that's attached to a growth stock mutual fund might be good. But if you don't want to lose your money under any circumstance, if the market crashes, then a fixed annuity is a great product. And now they have something called a fixed indexed annuity. What does that mean? That means that the interest that's credited to that annuity every single year is based on an index, like the Standard & Poor's index or the gold index. Now, that doesn't mean that you're investing in the stock market through a fixed annuity. It means the insurance company is doing some things to pay you higher interest. So in a nutshell, this is how it works. A fixed indexed annuity works like this. You deposit your money with the insurance company. If the stock market or the index that you've associated with it, whether it's Standard & Poor's or the Dow Jones, if that index goes up, you get a portion of that gain as interest. If that index goes down, you don't lose a dime. You just get zero interest, or in some cases, 1%. In some of these fixed indexed annuities, the minimum guarantee is 1%. Well, the CD rate today is what? Almost zero? It's almost zero. So we can talk all night on these fixed indexed annuities, but they get a bad rap. They really do get a bad rap. But I want to say this. They're not for growth. They are for safety. Fixed indexed annuities they should be considered safe savings vehicles, where your mutual fund, your variable annuity, your real estate, those are investment vehicles that go up and down. Okay? That go up and down. I think we've got a caller that wants to talk. Joe, we've got some time for a caller, don't we? Let's take this caller. I'm sure she wants to talk about annuity. Go ahead. Hello?
Hi, this is, hey there, can you hear me?
Hello, who's this?
Hi, Rick. This is Teresa. I'm calling in, and forgive me, I was on the road listening to your show, and I just wanted to, ask you really quickly. I'd heard about annuities before, and one of the things I heard about them was that the problem with them is that you can't get your money out ever. I mean, it's stuck there, and also you get a really lousy rate of return, and so, you never keep up with inflation or whatever, and I've been thinking about putting some money in an annuity, and I know you're going to have to probably continue this on the next show, and I'll be listening.
Joe tells me we've got a couple minutes, and I really apologize for interrupting you, but I do want to answer this before the end of the show.
Yeah, sure.
You're right. That is a big concern. People say all the time, well, I can't get my money out. Well, that's not true, okay? That's not true. They are designed for you to keep your money in over a period of time, okay? And I'm going to do an entire show on fixed index annuities or close. However, think about this. Most fixed annuities today allow you to take up to 10% of your balance out with no surrender fee, okay? Now, typically, if you take out more than that 10%, you're going to have a surrender fee. The surrender fee goes down every year. But here's something to think about. Most of them now allow you to take the entire amount out if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness or you're confined to a nursing home. Well, think about this. If this is your retirement savings and you want to get it out of a safe vehicle, what's typically going to be the thing that causes you to take the money out? A medical catastrophe, right? A terminal illness or confinement to a nursing home. Now you can take it out at no surrender fee. So they are somewhat liquid. And the interest rates, you can get pretty good interest rates if the market does do well, Teresa. So thanks for calling. I hope I answered your question. Just to recap what we talked about tonight, because we've got a little bit of time, right, Joe? Just to recap this, we've talked about the Affordable Care Act, how it impacts and threatens your retirement savings in your business. We talked about what 3 safe products you could use to mitigate that, which are life settlements, life insurance with living benefits, and fixed indexed annuities. Thanks for tuning in to Safe Money Talk with Rick Lewag. Tell all your friends and relatives to tune into the show. And if they can't, go to the podcast at kcaaradio.com. We'll see you next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Take care.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Exploring science in the sea. Iron is crucial to your health. It helps carry oxygen through the body, so if you don't have enough,